I'll keep things vague because, it's national radio.
It's up to you, mate.
But growing up myself, in what you call an impoverished area,
yes.
stepfather type figures were, known heroin addicts / dealers, and the environment that created for our household. And to be fair, it's not like our next door neighbours were any better off. The whole place was just you cannot imagine a more impoverished estate.
I think
and when I look at I myself, after years of counselling, I have a decent job now. To be fair, I drive around quite a lot. I'm a sales rep. Listen to your show regularly. However, I'm one of 7. The other 6 are all adults now.
Yeah.
In and out of prison, drug addicts, alcoholics. Every single person, more or less. Yeah, I go as far to say, 1 in 7 there, you can work out a rough percentage, but it's higher than that. When I look at the estate that I grew up on and the people that I knew, the people I kind of used to hang around with, the reality is that we talk about the kind of life expectancies going down.
Yes.
Things were that bad then, and they're only getting worse now because the people I know who are still in that kind of environment, they've now got children, except things like education and maintenance allowance, which for me when I was a kid was £30 a week. That £30 a week meant I could afford to eat and go to college. They're getting rid of it. If it's not already gone, somebody can check that, of course. Yes. The means that were available
I think it
for me to climb out of
the EMA.
You might well have. It's been a while since I was in college. But the point I'm making is that the means that were available to assist me in climbing out of the hole I was born into have been stripped away systematically. I'm continuing to be stripped away systematically. So when people look at 47-year-old Greg and they say, he's a heroin addict, it's his own stupid fault. Firstly, it's not. I draw your attention to Rat Park.
Yes.
Secondly, even if it was his stupid fault, which it's not, it's certainly not his children's fault. And what people forget so often, and certainly the likes of, I don't want to make things political, but I'm sure you can think of people who might fall into this category, as they're so quick to shame the parents who made these, who were stupid enough to be born into a poor family.
Mate,
what did they pick that for?
They've tried to shame people that died in Grenfell Tower. I don't think we need to join the dots here, do we?
Well, just trying to keep things
I know.
Well, I suppose it is political. I suppose you can't take the politics out of it. But the reality is, and we talk about these drops in life expectancies, people being born into the kind of situations I was born into, it's quite frankly a miracle I'm now in the position I'm in. If I was born into that same position, but 5 years ago, instead of 31 years ago, I would not stand a chance, quite frankly.
What would be the biggest changes, do you think?
Well, for a start, I wouldn't have been able to afford to go to college.
Yeah, that's what got you out, education.
My escape route was you got £30 a month if you went to college.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, the first time I got given £30 at age 16 into my bank, that was the most money I'd ever held in my hand in my life. I had never before held any more than a fiver, personally, in my hand. God. So to get £30 a week, that was then, I can get the bus to college, I can buy some books, I can buy some pens, I can study, and then I can go to university. There was help available, there was support available, the loans, the maintenance grants they gave me for university, it paid for my first year's rent. So I went to university. To be fair, I didn't actually stay at university.
Right.
But I studied law. I had this romantic notion I could put the bad guys in prison. What a joke that turned out to be. But what I was able to do, I know, right? But what I was able to do with that was move to a big city.
Oh, your horizons.
Yeah. So I moved to a big city.
You got off the estate, right? That was the biggest thing of all.
My first year's rent was paid for. I went into Burton's and I bought a very ill-fitting suit, I must admit.
We've all been there. Did it have one button?
You know what? I can't quite remember.
Well, you're younger than me.
All I can remember is thinking at the time, I looked quite dapper.
Absolutely, I'm sure you did, mate.
To sit in front of interviewers and just multiple of them to tell me you're a bit rough around the edges. But I'll tell you what, I do like your enthusiasm. Eventually, one of them, it was a recruitment company, of all companies.
Yes.
Eventually, one of them said, you know what, you're going to take a lot of work, but I'll give you a chance. Fast forward, what is it now? 10, 15 years. I own a house. I pay more taxes than I ever thought I would. Quite frankly, I contribute. My position now is completely unrecognisable from the beginnings. But the point I'm making here is that as we strip back all of the support networks, all of the opportunities, all of the mechanisms by which somebody could drag themselves to a point higher than where they started, I don't know if any are even left. I'd say they're being stripped away, but I'd probably go as far to say they're just gone. And when I look at my brothers, my friends, my cousins, I love them all dearly, of course, but I can't look at them and see which else of them have managed to kind of beat the trap, for want of a better phrase.
You don't need a better phrase. That's the perfect phrase.
They all started in that same position.
Yeah.
But the point is that now, anybody faced with that same challenge today, it was hard then. It was really hard back then. Years of therapy and kind of recovering drug addiction of my own. Yes. I'm kind of, I'm over the hill, as it were. I'm good.
Over the hump. I wasn't. You're not over the hill. You're over the hump.
Over the hump. Whereas to face that same challenge, if I had to face that same challenge tomorrow, in today's world, I'm not so sure I could.
Well, the escape route's gone.
God help anybody, and this is the crux of it. The Greg, who's 47 and is a blah blah blah, he should know better. Yeah. Ooh, shun him, shame him. The children born into that family who most certainly did not pick that dad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? They most certainly did not choose to be born into such a grim house, quite frankly, such a grim life. That's the bit that people miss. So if you grow up in such an environment, the maladaptive coping mechanisms you acquire over the years, you are overwhelmingly likely to have a crippling drug addiction by the time you're of a certain age, particularly when drugs are going around the estate at as young as 13, 14.
And that sees an increase in drug and alcohol overdoses and in suicides as well, of course. It's not very confusing.
For it as well.
This isn't confusing to you, is it?
Science,
no.
Because as somebody who's lived it, and people say, "Oh well, why did he?" And
pull your socks up. Come on, pull your socks up.
The example I always use is: imagine. This isn't personal, by the way. Imagine you're a very successful radio presenter.
Yes.
You own multiple properties. You've got a good life, a good social life. Nobody wakes up one day and says, "Do you know what? It's a lovely day. The sun's shining. The birds are singing. Today's the day I become a heroin addict." That's not. That's not how it happens. There are steps. You trace it back. People who turn to such drastic, inverted commas, solutions. It's not a solution, of course, but people who turn to such channels, they are already in a place that's darker than you can ever imagine. Assuming, of course, you're in a happy, well-to-do existence. Because the reality is that people living that existence, good for them.
Yeah.
But that they couldn't possibly understand the forces at work to push.
So they can take their empathy so far, I guess. But they can never live it. They can never know it. They can never imagine it to the level of knowledge. You just can't. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this. I would. Oddly, this radio presenter, although he doesn't have multiple properties, can just about imagine it, but only just. And it is only imagining. John, that's an incredible call, and I'm so grateful to you. And I'm sorry I have to curtail it, but I'm already rather late for the news.